Automotive maintenance by moonlight. Tonight's discussion is differential fluid change. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is, first of all, go to your auto parts store and get yourself a differential gasket, a differential cover gasket. The parts man is going to ask you what size of ring gear your differential is. If you have no idea what your ring gear is, you can pop your trunk, and on your RPO codes there is a code for your differential ring gear. If you cannot find it, just go ahead and buy both gaskets, and then you will know what size of ring gear you have in your vehicle. So, with that being said, now you're going to want to go over to and figure out what type of differential you have. Do you have a standard or limited slip differential, or do you have posi traction or a locking differential? If you have a standard or limited slip differential, GM recommends just straight 80-90 GL5 gear oil, okay, standard gear oil. If you have posi traction or track lock, if you're a Ford driver, well, there is a different type of gear oil that you need to use. For General Motors vehicles, you can use, GM recommends GM part number 1052271 gear oil. You can find that at your GM dealer. They still have it even today. So, and the part number is still the same as far as I know, last time I checked up on it. So, now with that being said, you leave the auto parts store. Now you can go ahead to your vehicle, park it on the ramps, or jack it up. If you have a set of ramps, use the ramps. Next, what you're going to want to do for GM full-size vehicles, it is a 13mm socket required to do this task. Go ahead and loosen off the bottom bolts first, and when you loosen off the first 4 or 5, you should have some fluid coming out. If not, loosen off some more. If you notice that you only have 2 or 3 bolts left, and they're fairly loose, just loosen them off, not to the point where they're totally coming out, but loosen them off, and you still have no fluid coming out, chances are the differential fluid hasn't been changed in so long, and that it is literally seized against the differential housing. So what you're going to want to do is take a pry bar and gently pry until you break the seal between the differential cover and the housing itself. Try not to bend or warp the differential cover. It may be difficult, but try your best not to warp the cover. Once you achieve breaking the seal, let the differential fluid drain, then remove the cover. Now, that being said, let it drain. Take the cover off and scrape any old gasket material off. It is imperative that all the old gasket is off the differential cover and then the differential housing itself. If it isn't, you're going to have leaks. Same thing applies to your thermostat on your car. If you don't get all the old gasket removed, you're going to have fluid leaks. So make sure it is removed. Then, once that's done, take your new gasket and attach it to your differential cover. Now, once you get the first few bolts started, just snug them up. GM does not have a torquing specification for full-size GM vehicles through the 80s. There was just not a torquing specification for them. At least there isn't in the GM service manual that I am using. All it recommends you doing is tightening them up. So just use your best judgment. Then what you're going to want to do is take off the differential fluid filler cap. This might be difficult to do. Some of them are difficult. There is no nut or bolt or anything. What you're going to need is an extension on a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, and you're going to have to loosen it off that way. Now, if it is really seized on there, you might need to use a breaker bar or Johnson bar to try and break it off. It depends on when the differential fluid was last changed. Either way, you will eventually get it. Just avoid stripping it if at all possible. It is very difficult to get out of there if it hasn't been removed for quite some time. Then what you're going to want to do is, if you're lucky and you don't have a muffler in your way, you might be able to take your gear oil and just directly dump it right into the differential itself. The differential filler plug is on the right hand side of the differential if you're looking at it from the back end of the car. More likely or not, if you're dealing with an 80s GM full-size vehicle, you more than likely are going to need a hand pump for an oil container, a gear oil container, and hand pump it into the differential. If you have a boat with an outboard engine, there's a good chance that you already own one of these, and you already have one in your shop. If you don't have one, your auto parts store has millions of them, and they'll sell them to you for dirt cheap. So there's been a few emails pouring in on the subject of differential fluid changes and the required intervals. I hope this shed a little bit of light on the matter. Now, with the job being complete, you can go to your favorite saloon with your best friends and have a few rounds. The lads around here call me Timberwolf, and I approve this message. You lads have yourself a nice evening, and don't party too hard.